Have you ever walked away from a parenting moment thinking, that's not the kind of mom I want to be? Yeah, me too. In fact, it's been happening a lot recently, and I thought in this episode I should open up about how we as parents are learning to speak life and not shame and discouragement over our son. Welcome to Simply Living Homestead, where we empower homesteaders and preserve traditions. I'm your host, Amanda Carlin, and I help homesteading families bring peace and order to their lives. My friend, are you overwhelmed with all the tasks on your homestead? Do you wish for a mentor to guide you through the tough moments each day? Then you've come to the right place. Together, we will learn to organize our homestead, love our families well, and walk in the peace of God. If you're ready to get unstuck from the constant feeling of overwhelm, then join us each week as we explore practical advice, inspiring stories, and heartfelt encouragement to help you thrive. Let's grow a sustainable, meaningful life together, both in the home and on the homestead. Welcome back to the homestead. In today's episode, we are going to be discussing yelling less and speaking life. I don't really want this episode to be a "this is what you should be doing" episode. That doesn't really feel good to me. I believe that everybody's journey of how they got to where they're at is very unique. And I believe that everybody's journey on how they are parenting is very unique. And I am not in a position to be able to tell you that how you are parenting is correct or right or wrong. I can't tell you that. What I'd like to be talking about today is just this shift that my husband and I have had in how we are interacting with our son. And maybe you can take something from it. Maybe you can give me input. I am very new to this, 4 years in, and a lot has changed. A lot has changed in that 4 years, and just like what we're looking at and how we are looking at the conversations and the discipline that is happening in the family. This is something that, I thought of this topic like 6 weeks ago, and it's finally time to record it. And lo and behold, this is a week that we've been struggling a lot. I have been struggling a lot. I have had a couple of meltdowns myself. And when it comes to discipline and the big emotions that toddlers have and everything, it's one of those things where I feel like it can really overwhelm me. And I can get really upset when Emerson has like really big emotions. And then I stop and I go, wait a minute, Amanda. You have really big emotions too. And just kind of coming to terms with the fact that I have big emotions and my son has big emotions, and that it's okay to have big emotions. I remember as a kid just kind of feeling like I really wasn't supposed to have emotions, that the only emotion that I really was supposed to feel was happiness, and that was kind of weird to me. And what I mean by that is it just like I experienced a lot more emotions than just simply happiness, but happiness was the only one that really truly felt like it was accepted. And so coming from that to this whole like, it's okay if my son cries and whatever, but then also having to really hold this firm boundary of, well, if I said no, or if I said that we were going to have a boundary there, letting him just simply process through those emotions and grounding myself and reminding myself that I'm safe and that his frustration and his outbursts of anger and all these things don't really reflect on me. As in, they don't control me. that I am still the parent, and that like I'm still able to, teach him how to handle the emotions as they come up. Language, that can really impact how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about the world around us. And I've been watching, toddlers really kind of mimic what you say. You see yourself in toddlers so much. And when they start doing something that you're not thrilled with, you're suddenly like, wait a minute, no, I do that too. And learning to make changes so that then they also start speaking life to those around them. It is a blessing to me when I watch Emerson use language that I have learned to use, not language that was taught to me, not language that is inherent to my nature, but language that I have learned to start using that he will then use. And that has been this super blessing, and this reminder to myself that we can speak life, and these thoughts and all this sort of thing, and it will benefit our offspring, right? We can make changes. And there's been some things where he started saying something and I'm like, oh wait, he got that from me. And so then I stop, and I might have to take some corrective measures of just hey, we don't say that anymore, and this is why. And some people would argue that a 4-year-old doesn't need to know why, or they don't need to be explained. And I mean, there are some truth to that, in that you do not need to be explaining yourself all the time. Toddlers are going to ask why 100,000,000 times, and you do not have to explain yourself every single time. But I also am a firm believer that he at least partially understands. And if you can say that reasoning several times, a lot of times, at least for my son, he will pick up on that. And he will begin to understand why we do what we do. Why do you do what we do? Why do you do what you do? Anyway. So those are my opening thoughts. We're already a good ways into this. So we'll see if I can run through my notes without getting too distracted. Hopefully you can get something interesting out of this. But yeah, let's get into it, I guess. So we, from the get-go, we wanted to be mindful parents and whatever, but it was really easy for both me and my husband to react. We did this reactive style of parenting, really, where something would happen and then we would react. And we kind of found ourselves falling into this. We demanded obedience. But why were we demanding obedience? It was because we needed this sense of control. And one of the first mind shifts that I had was just simply, is there harm in what he's asking? Is there a reason I'm saying no? And maybe there was, but a lot of times he'd ask for something and I'd be no. And then I'd be like, wait, but there's no harm in what he's wanting to do. And having to kind of back up and go, you know what, mommy was wrong. We can go ahead and do that. Some of that came with actually entering occupational therapy. And we were struggling with potty training. We were struggling with bedtime. We were struggling with just an excessive amount of defiance, which, I mean, we are still dealing with. He is 4. But we got into occupational therapy, and she started helping me understand this connection between sensory needs and emotional regulation and how your body feels. And honestly, occupational therapy, OT, was just, it was as much for me as it was for him, because it gave me someone in my corner that I could go, okay, this is what we're struggling with. Is there a deeper reason for it? And a lot of times there was. She also gave me, like, sometimes she would give me scripts to, like, say, like, if this situation comes up, here is how you can address it. And a lot of that has been, helping to kind of shift my mindset away from this just demanding of obedience and demanding of the things that I think are right without putting any more thought into it. And it's not about whether or not they're supposed to listen, because I do believe the Bible says that children are to listen to their parents, and it's us as parents' job to teach them to listen and be respectful. But there's also scriptures that say that an angry father will, like, make his son angry. And I believe that goes the same for mothers. Like, if we cannot control ourselves, how do we expect to teach our children to control their emotions and listen to their body and advocate for what they need in a respectful way? And not just in a way where, well, I got everything that I wanted, so I can do whatever I want. Like, there is a difference there. And we went from this demanding of, like, mom and dad demanding obedience and demanding, like, things to happen for control. We went from that to seeking connection in what we were asking and seeking connection in what we were expecting him to do. Setting the table or picking up his toys or, like, doing things that, he needs to learn to do it. He needs to learn to take care of his things. He needs to learn to put forth an effort in the family. But it's not just about the fact that, oh, it's nice to have another set of hands, and a lot more about building this emotional and spiritual connection. Because if he can't trust us in the small things, how is he ever going to trust us when we are telling him about Jesus and salvation and the works of the Father? We went from trying to just fix everything to, like, just listening and helping him learn the words and the language around explaining how he feels inside. Like, when they start out, it was just, well, I'm happy or I'm sad or I'm angry, right? And that's about all that you get. And as you get a little bit older and you can start having these conversations, you can start giving them language on how to express what's going on. And then, like, that's only good if you take the time to sit and listen to them and understand what they're seeing things through their eyes. We went from shaming, well, you can't do anything right, to trying to figure out how we can support what he feels like he needs within reason, right? We're the adults. We are the ones with a bigger perspective on life. We understand how a lot more things work. When you are a child, things are so simple. They really are. They're so simple. And so sometimes children will ask for things or think that they need things that they absolutely do not need or could absolutely harm them. But when you've already established this connection with them, it makes it a lot easier when you're looking at that and you go, no, that's a terrible idea, actually. But being able to then, like, divert. One thing that I have been trying recently is to never throw a wall in front of him. Walls really just kind of end in discouragement. How can I point him in a different path? I might need to put up a barrier, right? You cannot go past this point. But don't stop there. I have been working to put a barrier. No, you can't do that thing. But we can do this. And that doesn't always result in positive feelings from my child. That doesn't mean that it's going to work in the adult fixing brain, right? Where we're like, well, we just want him to pick the other path and just be okay with it and not show any emotion and not, all these things. But that's not how that works. It's about teaching the tools to when you hit a roadblock, you can change paths. And my note here says we stopped asking, how do we make them obey? And we started asking, what is he trying to tell us? Because, again, limited language, you get to be an interpreter of the big emotions that are going inside this little tiny body. So let's quick run down some things that we've found helpful for practical changes. We have really practiced regulating ourselves before responding. It doesn't always happen. I'm sure in a few years I'll be better at it than I am now. But just like counting to 15 and then counting to 15 again if you have to. Just like breathing in, breathing out. I am safe. This does not define me. Like whatever you have to say to yourself to remind yourself of the truth. And the truth is that you are the adult, you are in control, even if your body feels like it isn't in control, right? Like you can control you. You cannot control that your child is having a meltdown. I cannot control that Emerson is having a meltdown. And believe me, there are a lot of them. But I can control how I respond. I can scream, I can yell, I can hit, I could throw things, or I could breathe. I could step out of the room if I have to, safety, but these things, right? We can make gentle movements and take things with a calmness that normally the situation wouldn't have. Some other things that we have done, I mentioned this, we have scripts and phrases. One of them would be what do you need right now? Is there something that you need? Which right now as a 4-year-old, that one's not working super great, but it is a good question for me to ask myself, what do I need right now? And digging deeper than just I need my child to shut up, because that's not really the problem, right? You think that it is, you think that that's the problem, but deeper than that, you want peace, you want safety, you want, there are things that you can dig deeper. And as Emerson gets a little bit older, I think it will work better with him too. But, it could take years and years and years before that particular question, really takes hold. Other things is that we've noticed sensory triggers. During bath time, a trigger is if he gets water in his ears. And it's so bad that he doesn't even like the water hitting the outsides of his ears. Now he can put his head in the water and get them wet. But he doesn't like dripping water or pouring water on his ears. And that will cause this whole meltdown. This whole complete meltdown. And just being aware of that helps us to make calls, or at the very least give him warning that, hey, this is going to happen. We're going to do this thing. So, most kids will cover their face or cover their eyes or whatever when they're getting their hair washed. He covers his ears, and that's fine. Okay, cover whatever you need to cover. and then proceeding. And that's been helping a lot. And so then the last thing I have here is just some practical changes that we've done is getting good at saying sorry. And that's honestly harder said than done. But it's a really good skill to practice and model for your children to not be the family where when something has evaporated, when something has taken place, there are families that, and this is how I grew up, is if yelling happened, you didn't apologize. You just waited for everything to calm down. And when that happens a lot, it creates this atmosphere of instability and fear, and this whole as if you have multiple children, as they're interacting with each other, they're going to do that to each other too. But they're also going to go hey, we're walking on eggshells tonight, because we're just waiting for the situation to blow over, essentially. And that's one of those things where they can start kind of building. And when the big blow up happens and, something irreparable essentially happens, you're like, well, why'd that happen? And sometimes you're like, well, it was just over peas, right? The phrase, the straw that broke the camel's back, really kind of applies here, where if you do not practice the part of the Christian, and when you have failed, ask for forgiveness, really it can amount to this point of the straw that broke the camel's back, right? It's one of those things that, as much as it hurts, and you can start teaching your children to then apologize as well, but you need to model it. I need to model it. If Emerson does not see me apologizing to him for yelling, why is he going to do it? If Emerson does not see me apologize to his father when I have got heated over something that I feel very passionately about, you don't have to change your opinion. You don't have to take back what was said necessarily, but you do have to acknowledge that the way that you delivered it was hurtful. And if we want our children to learn that, right? If we want our children to learn that, they are going to have to see us do it too. They will not be able to learn it from you unless you do it. And, this, I feel, is really important, but it's really hard. It is really hard for me to do, to apologize. It's not something that I even learned to do, really. And so now I'm having to learn to do it. And that's hard. You're not a bad mom, no matter what your toddler says to you. That's Emerson's new favorite thing. You're a bad mom. I'm sorry. I have started responding to that one with I love you. Oh, that makes him mad. It's almost funny. It's almost comical. He was in timeout because he had hit me, and I wasn't letting him do the thing he wanted to do. You're a bad mom. I love you. Yeah, but you're a bad mom. I love you anyway. And yeah, it took 4 or 5 just back and forths that way. I mean, I did at some point just stop. You can be the bigger person and just not argue with them. You can. That has been super helpful too. But you're not a bad mom. You are a human mom who can make mistakes, does make mistakes, in fact, because you're human. And that's okay. Your children do not need perfection. They need you. They need you to teach them how the world works and how they can do better in the world. You can grow in grace, not perfection. You're doing a really good job. Connection builds stronger families than control ever could. Okay? I'm going to repeat that. Connection builds stronger families than control ever could. Even Christ, the Father, does not control. And he, of all entities, could. And he doesn't, because he wants a relationship with you. He wants connection with you. And your relationship with Jesus Christ is a symbol of family and what family should be. Some of the saddest families that I have ever seen are the ones that have a large amount of control, where they think that they're doing everything right to make perfect little children, and then their children are the ones who end up walking away from God, walking away from the family, maybe even going no contact. And I don't say that to scare you, but to encourage you that you can start building connection with your family, that you should, that it's not too late no matter where you're at. I have a toddler, and I'm trying to do this right now. But the thing is, my parents have started learning to do this as well. And I've shared a little bit about how life was like for me growing up. The youngest sibling of mine is turning 20 this year. And my parents, honestly, it feels like only in the last couple of years, have started doing some of these things that I've shared. But it's not too late. Like, our family is a better family now than it was when we were kids, because they're taking steps to build connection and to yell less and to speak life and not shame. You can do this. By the grace of God, I believe that you can do this. Mama, if your heart is heavy because you've yelled or reacted or fallen short, you're not alone. We've all been there. And the fact that you are listening to this episode, you've made it to the end, tells me one thing loud and clear. You care deeply about the kind of mother that you're becoming. This journey of learning to speak life over our children is ongoing. It's not about perfection. It's about presence. It's about perseverance. And about choosing connection even after we've messed up. About seeing our kids not as problems to fix, but as people to understand and love more deeply. And to guide in the grace and presence of Jesus Christ. So today, take the pressure off. Offer yourself the same grace you want to extend to your children. And remember, your voice, calm, kind, and grounded in love, has the power to shape their inner world for years to come. If this episode spoke to you, would you take a moment to share it with another mama who might need this reminder too? And as always, I'd love to hear from you, your thoughts, your struggles, your wins. Send me a note at connect@simplylivingHomestead.com. You're not walking this alone. You are doing holy, heart-deep work, one moment at a time. Keep going, you're growing, and that's what matters most. We'll see you next week. Well, neighbor, before you head out, I just want to say how much I've loved spending this time with you. If you too enjoyed our time together, don't forget to give us a follow and leave a quick review on your favorite podcast player. It really helps more women like us find their way to a simpler, more joyful life. And hey, if you know someone who'd enjoy this episode, why not share it with them? Let's keep growing this circle of encouragement together. Oh, and don't forget to join my email list. I've got some free printables and weekly tips waiting for you to help you live a purposeful, balanced life, one rooted right in the heart and home. Thanks for being here, friend. You're doing a great job. I can't wait to chat again next week here at the Simply Living Homestead.